welcome, welcome, and more than anything, thank you so much for volunteering to be a judge for the competitions. This year we are actually endeavoring to recruit over 100 judges. So I need about 70 judges on the engineering side and around 40 to 50 on the biomed side. And so I truly, truly appreciate your saying yes. And just, I know that I have some folks on the line that may be a returning judge and or know a little bit about the KC STEM Alliance. But we've also got some folks that may be new to the STEM Alliance and are working in Kansas City. So I thought I would just give you a very quick introduction. We are a collaborative initiative in Kansas City that's focused on inspiring more young people to pursue careers in STEM. So we work with industry partners, education partners, and a variety of nonprofits across the region to support STEM initiatives. And in Kansas City, that includes 2 signature programs that are national programs. One is Project Lead the Way, which is an in-school curriculum, and the other is First Robotics, which is an after-school program. So you can actually check out our website if you're curious to learn more about what we do in the region. I don't want to spend a lot of time on that, but it's kcstem.org, and please feel free to contact me offline if you want to learn a little bit more about the organization. So just as by way of an introduction, the students that have been invited to compete in these competitions are all taking Project Lead the Way courses. So they have taken 4 years of Project Lead the Way courses in either engineering, pre-engineering, or pre-biomedical science. And in their 4th year, it culminates in a senior capstone course. So the engineering students go through the full engineering design process throughout the course of the year and work on one project. The biomed students actually have a choice whether they want to either create a product innovation, conduct an experiment, do a job shadow and write that up, or create a public service announcement in the public health arena. So in contrast to the engineering project, which is done in class over the whole year, the biomed project is done as an independent assignment done outside of the classroom and is only one of many projects that the kids do throughout the year. So I just provide that by way of context for the biomed judges because the biomed projects in general are not done to the same depth or level as the engineering projects, but they do some good work. And the only students, the only projects that are really eligible for this competitions are students that have either done an innovative product design or conducted an experiment. And the reason being, that's the only way we can have sort of a similar rubric that the judges can use to score. In both of these classes, though, the students develop an electronic portfolio to go with their project, which is uploaded to the Innovation Portal. And you'll learn a little bit more about how the portal works once we get into the training, but this really was the enabling technology that helped us create or helped us host this type of competition where we can engage judges like yourselves online. So this is the 3rd year for the engineering competition and the 2nd year for biomed. So before I introduce our training guide from Project Lead the Way, I just want to give you a quick review of the timeline. You should have gotten this in some of the materials, but you'll be receiving your student portfolios in the Innovation Portal account on April 1st. Then all the reviews need to be completed by April 15th because I basically have about 24 hours to finalize the winners before we go into preparations for the Project Lead the Way Senior Showcase on April 18th. So if you have any problems at all and you realize you're not going to be able to judge your portfolios, please just contact me as soon as possible so I can reassign those portfolios and make sure that all of the student projects get judged. Then we will be announcing the winners at the Senior Showcase on the 18th, and I'll also be sending out a list of the winners via email along with just kind of reflections on the competition. Every year we have certain things that come up that I think, and great comments from judges. And last year, the judges were very curious to see the top winners, so I'll be giving everyone access to viewing the winning portfolios at the competition, after the competition, in case you're interested to see what those look like. So, as always, we are also very interested in your feedback. So no need to wait till the end. If you have any questions or comments along the way, please feel free to email me at any time with your comments. So the last thing before I turn this over is today we have judges on the webinar that are for either engineering or biomed. The process for judging is the same, but there are a few little comments that I have for the biomed judges, so at the very end of the call we'll just have you stay on for a few minutes. So at this point, it's my pleasure to introduce Elliot Mork with the National Project Lead the Way Office, who oversees the Innovation Portal competitions, to lead us through the competition, lead us through the training, and then we will have several points along the way if you have some general questions. And as I said, please don't hesitate at all to send a question in the chat box or send me a question offline in email. So Elliot, take it over.
Thank you, Anne. Before I get going too much, I want to check two things. Well, first is that you can find the chat box, because that's the best place to put questions if you have questions here. So go ahead and make sure, help me know that I unmuted by giving me a message in the chat box, and also verify for me that you can see my screen moving here with that PowerPoint presentation. So I want to make sure that we're coming through okay. All right, sounds like I unmuted correctly. That's always good to hear. Sometimes I talk to myself. Like Anne introduced me, Elliot Mork, where I work with Project Lead the Way, based out of Indianapolis, work with the national office. As part of my work, I supervise the Innovation Portal, helping support competitions that happen, including the Kansas City competitions, and as well as do support for the EDD class, which is that senior capstone course with the Innovation Portal. I also want to mention Ryan Harkleroad on the Innovation Portal team to help with any issues with the judge training. And so at any time, if you have any issues with the Innovation Portal, don't know where to click or can't find your account, or just pretty much any issue, you could take it to Anne, but you could also, if it's about the Innovation Portal, like a technical thing, you could probably just take it directly to us too, and it's the email innovation@pltw.org. Ryan and I both have access to that account, so to make sure that we respond as fast as possible if one of us is busy, we both take a look at that email account. You can send us an email anytime. So I think most people are muted at this point, because we went through and muted everybody. If you have a question, the best place for that is the chat box. We'll be monitoring that, and I think Ryan will stop me once in a while to answer questions, and I'll pause at certain points. But you can also mute and unmute yourself. So just because there's so many people on the call, we probably should mostly stay muted. I am already recording the session, and so within a day or two, depends on how much editing I have to do on it. Usually none, but sometimes my computer takes some processing time. I'm recording this and I'll upload it to YouTube, and it normally takes, I normally can get it out within about 24 hours. So Anne should be able to send that link out to you so you can view this training on YouTube as well if you want to go back and like scroll through the video and remind yourself about one point. So the first thing with the Innovation Portal to know about is that it checks your browser to make sure it's automatic, to make sure that it's compatible with the Innovation Portal. One key thing to note is that it's not compatible with any Microsoft browser products. Internet Explorer or the new Edge Explorer, it may work and it may or may not give you an error when you visit the Innovation Portal, but there's a lot of features that are not compatible with those specific browsers. So use something like Firefox or Chrome or Safari if you're on a Mac system, but that should all work. But Internet Explorer and Edge we've not been having a lot of success with it. So the first thing I want to dive into is the first two topics here. So make sure your browser's update. You could visit whatismybrowser.com to tell you what it is, but it also should auto detect on the Innovation Portal. These first two steps you probably should have already have completed. Creating an Innovation Portal account is the first thing to do, and then you should have told Anne what email that you used to sign up with, and then you can get an invitation to actually connect with the competition. The next thing I'm going to cover is kind of an overview of how the online system works, kind of know where your spot is in the big the big cog of this this competition and kind of your role and how you do that, how you accomplish it. I'm going to show you how to access the portfolios once they're assigned to you, the student portfolios that Anne will assign you to review. I'll show you how to access those. I'm going to show you about the rubric you're using. The rubric is a pretty robust tool developed by engineering academic professors, professionals, both at the secondary high school level and at the collegiate level. So it's a pretty robust tool, and I'll be showing you, giving you some pretty basic training on how to utilize it. And then I'll show you how to access the rubric, how to get access to it and look at all the resources attached and within the rubric. And then I'm going to show you how to actually score scored examples. You have real examples of student work available to you to help come to a score when you're utilizing the rubric. So I'm going to show you how to get to those, and then I'm going to show you how to submit those scores back to Anne, submit those final scores up to the competition, and so she can use those to compute the overall scores and determine the winners. And then just as a reminder, the judging is going to be due April 15th to allow Anne the amount of time to compute those scores and make sure that all the last details are dealt with before determining the winner for the event. And so you'll have a window between April 1st and April 15th to actually do this work, and you should be getting about 3 to 5 portfolios, and that translates to roughly about 3 to 5 hours of work to evaluate those portfolios. So what are the steps to get connected? The first step is to create your Innovation Portal account, which I think most of you have done. Second step is to tell the report the email address that you use to register to the competition administrator, which is Anne, so she can send an invitation. You'll receive an invitation. You can accept that either through an email link or into the notification section in the Innovation Portal. And then once you accept it, then you're actually connected to the competition. So what does it all? What does it look like from the student side, like holistically with the competition? So on the left here, these students can create their portfolios. Anyone on the Innovation Portal can create a portfolio. You don't have to have a special account. One student can create it and invite multiple students, so we can have groups of students actually working together to create one portfolio. The first step that they do in the competition is register. They register pretty early on in the process to give Anne an idea of how big the competition is going to be, and they go work on their portfolios. Then once they get it to a state where it's ready to submit, they'll actually create a submission, and that's the submission window here. So they'll have them submitted before that April 1st date. They have to put a final submission in. Those get all put into the competition here, a bunch of portfolios, and then on April 1st, what Anne will do is automatically send those portfolios out to you and distribute it to you.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so those portfolios get distributed out to you as judges. So you'll get between 3 and 5 of these portfolios to review. You'll have those 14 days to review them, and then you'll send the scores back up to Anne, the competition administrator. And during this whole process, Anne, the competition administrator, is kind of the go-between for students and judges to answer any questions and handle those logistics. So when someone creates a portfolio, they can invite project partners, they can invite project mentors for reviewers and teachers. They can take that one portfolio, submit it to multiple competitions, and they can create multiple portfolios. So it's a pretty powerful tool for students to use. At this point, I want to pause for questions about kind of the big picture competitions, and then big picture on the competition, and then I want to jump over and show you what it actually looks like with screen sharing. All right, let's go ahead and move forward. So the first step is to log in. All the accounts are the same, so you're not looking for like a judge login account. You just, your email account they create, it's the same type of account that students create as well. All right, so when you log in, you might hit this login screen. This is what you start on the portfolio page. The navigation's here on the left. You start on the My Portfolios page because that's most of our users are students, and that's typically what they're doing is creating portfolios. Oh, we got a question from Teresa. How many judges look at each portfolio? Well, we try to recruit as many judges as we have students, and what that allows us to do is when you get 3 to 5 assignments, then each portfolio gets reviewed 3 to 5 times as well, if we have a 1-to-1 ratio. But the minimum level that we usually, the minimum number of times a portfolio is reviewed is at least 3 times by judges, and so there's at least 3 to average together.
And I'll just kind of chime in here. At this point, I think I'm going to have around 70 projects is my guess, and I have 60 judges. So I'm pretty close. There may be some, I think the majority of judges are going to have 3 projects to judge, and there may be some that have 4. But I'm still recruiting folks, and so if you guys, and feel free to recruit. So we can always add some more judges because we've got time to get people on board before the 1st.
Then we have another question that says, during registration, is it required? It is required to pick a school affiliation, so I just picked a random one that I actually have nothing to do with. Does this matter? The answer is no. Not if you're a judge, it doesn't. I think if you, I may be wrong, but I think if you click that you're a judge, that field might go away. If not, it's fine to just pick a random one and put it in there. Right now, that data field doesn't really tie back to anything at this point, and because you're a judge account, it's filtered out for any metrics supporting anyone. All right.
And Elliot, I have one other comment. I'm not sure, there may be one person online that this affects, but all of these kids are supposed to have mentors that help them with their projects, and I do have a few mentors that are also serving as judges, and so in that situation you can still serve as a judge, but you can't judge, of course, your students, your mentees' project. So if anybody happens to be working as a mentor, please just let me know so I can shuffle the projects around.
All right, so you start on the left navigation menu under My Portfolios when you log in. You're mostly going to go down to Opportunities here. When you click Opportunities, you can see all of the current opportunities that are posted. So these are a bunch of competitions that are happening around the nation. We have one in Minnesota, we have one national one, we have 2 in Kansas City that are occurring. What you're going to want to click on is these are actually going to disappear from this current tab. If you notice there's a current and a past, these 2 right now are active because students can submit to them. They can submit work to them. The day that it closes down, these are going to disappear from this tab. And they're going to disappear from this tab before you become judges and actually start evaluating those. So what you're going to need to do, it's going to look a little bit different. These 2 are going to drop away. You're going to have to click on Past here. And this loads all of the competitions that are already past their due date for submission, because under the current side, we're advertising for students that can submit. So those are the ones that students still can submit to. So you're going to have to click on that Past button there. And if you scroll down, you can see the last year's one. You can see the 2016 Kansas City area competitions. These 2 will disappear as soon as the 2017 ones move to this page. I'll unpublish these 2016 ones, and so you will only see the 2017 competitions. So this is where you're actually going to want to go and click on to find your portfolios to review. It's going to say 2017, and then you have 2 of them, either engineering or biomedical. You should know which one that you're assigned to. You're going to click on that. For the purposes of training today, however, I'm going to click on this training example competition because we don't have that data populated yet for student work, and we don't have the assignments in. So I'm going to click into this training example one. You're going to click into either the biomedical or the engineering competition when you have portfolios assigned. So there's not a lot here, but if you're interested in reading more about the competition about Kansas City, you could even right now click in. This is just all the public information published about a competition. But what is interesting to you as a judge once you have reviews is click on this review button here. And you'll have all of the portfolios assigned to you. Right now, if you click on the competition, you'll probably see this banner and you'll see reviews, but you'll just see that there's no portfolios assigned to you. If you have accepted the judging invitation, I think most of you have, you'll just see a 0 out of 0 and nothing underneath here. It's only after the student work has been submitted and then Anne assigns it to you will you actually have these in here. So you'll be assigned somewhere between 3 and 5, or it sounds like either 3 or 4, depending. this is how many you've completed and then how many total. Under each one, you can show the status of it. This one is active, which means it has not been evaluated by me yet. So we're going to go into this one and go ahead and do that evaluation today. All right, so we start on the cover page. So there could or could not be content on this page, and it kind of depends per the student. There's nothing to evaluate on this page, but some students still do put content there. Oh, excuse me. So on the right-hand side here, we have kind of like the tabs of a 3-ring binder. The portfolio cover page is that page where students sometimes upload a group picture, or maybe like a final design of their work, or it could be anything really, because it's not evaluated. To get to the first page of content that the students have actually done that you'll need to evaluate, you can click on the A. You're going to be evaluating elements A through N when you go into the portfolio to evaluate. So when you click on A, or actually even hover over A, you have a couple pop-out things here. The first one is the title of the element, which is for element A is presentation and justification of the problem. That's kind of the heading for what the content is going to be. You're going to be evaluating today. And I got a question, only your training example have content. So right now we're in a training example competition, which is equivalent to the Kansas City competition. The content I'm showing you right now, we have a library of some student work that they have signed releases that we can use as examples. And so I'm just showing you some example student work that we're going to evaluate today. This is not the student work you'll be evaluating with. It'll be work that students are working on currently. This is just a demonstration model that students have agreed to allow us to use. So the title is here under element A. Then you have this category of reflective questions, which is titled, "Did you offer the reviews of this portfolio?" If you read these bullet points, it gives you a good idea of what's going to be addressed within this element A, the different topics. We can collapse that as well. Then underneath that, we have the element rubric. We have scores available to us from 0 to 5, and we have score descriptors underneath it. So these are what we're going to be reading to know what we are going to assign each page of student content. So we go into A, let's go 3. Let's say we wanted to look more at 3. We can read this to determine if we should score this a 3. We also have something really awesome, which judges, I get really good feedback about this, is the scored element examples. We go ahead and click this, and notice we opened up a new tab. Your computer may open up a new tab, or it may download a PDF file. It kind of depends on your settings, but you're going to have a PDF file available to you. And this is a really powerful tool to know how you should evaluate student work. So this is the baseline of student work where you can look at this to understand what's the level of work that I should be comparing the work to. One of the unique things about judging on a virtual platform is that you don't really get to walk around the room like maybe in a science fair. You get to walk around and kind of get a feel for the quality of work in the room, and then maybe you were assigned a few of them, and you can kind of base your evaluation on the level of work in the room. You can't really do that on a virtual one, and that's one thing to keep in mind, is that if you're assigned 3 portfolios, those portfolios may be the absolute top 3 scoring portfolios that are the best student work on this competition. It also might be on the bottom end of the spectrum for student work. And so it's kind of hard to set a level of expectation for what you should, how you should evaluate the student work when you only get to look at 3 pieces of student work. This is how you set those standards for what you should be evaluating student work on. So this is actual student work. If we scroll down here, this is a PDF printout of actual student work that's been evaluated by expert reviewers. So you can take a look at the actual student work, but the most valuable piece of it is the expert reviewers gave you a couple paragraphs of what the score is of this work and why it is the score. So kind of the commentary behind the scenes of why this work is a score of 3 for this element, and not a 4 and not a 2, which is kind of powerful. It highlights which element that you're evaluating, just to kind of remind you there. And it highlights the score descriptor, so this is the one that actually aligns to, and then you have the actual student work. So a pretty powerful tool that judges have used to set a baseline for how they should be evaluating. A note about this rubric is that each step on the rubric is think of it as a staircase. So at the highest level you have a 5, which is not perfect work, but it is it's just what it is the description beneath it. So it's the highest score, but it's not necessarily perfect. And then one step down from that is a score of 4, and then the same height of the step down is 4 to 3. So each change is designed to be the same level of step down. Now, inevitably, you're going to hit some student work that falls somewhere in between maybe like a 3 and a 4. So you could toggle back and forth to look at 3 and 4. You could look at the scored element examples, and you could say, well, it kind of is a 3 and it kind of is a 4. And then this is really where your subjective judgment comes in as a judge and evaluator, is should it be a 3 or a 4? You kind of have to tilt it one way or the other. So let's say we do think that this is a 3. We could open up the score. You know, we've opened up 4. We could take a look at that. When we click 3, we're not actually assigning the score. And so this is probably the number one thing that judges need help with the interface and sometimes hit a blockade, is that this is not actually assigning a score. This is just viewing the rubric. If you move your mouse to the left and then come down here to this blue score sheet, this is the actual score sheet that you're filling out as a judge. So you could think of this as your clipboard that you use to write the scores down, and then you take this clipboard and then turn it in at the end of the night of the science fair, and this is what you turn into Anne. So if you think it's a 3, then you can mark a 3 here, and this is what's actually scoring. When you click the 3, there is no save button. Everything on the Innovation Portal automatically saves every couple microseconds, and so there's no save. It's already saved now that I've clicked it. And then you can open up the rubric as well. You can resize this, drag it around. I think you can resize it too if you really want to remind yourself of what a 3, maybe a 2, 3, 4, kind of toggle back and forth to take a look on that. But it gets a little bit full with screen real estate sometimes, and so you can close that as well if you don't want it there anymore. So that's the score of 3. We can write a comment here. So this is a comment about student work. Great job. So you can write a comment in there. It kind of changes competition to competition how these comments are utilized. The one way I know that it will be used is typically the highest scoring portfolios become very, very close in score, very, very similar scores, and so sometimes we dive into the comments to either push a portfolio up or pull it down, kind of to make that final determination between first and second place kind of thing. So that's one thing where the comments may be used. Another one, which is up to discretion of, I think what Anne did last year is allow teachers to have these comments so they could use them for constructive feedback with their students as they see fit in their classroom as well. So that's how these comments could be utilized. So once we've assigned it as a 3, go ahead.
Elliot, I'm just going to jump in there real quick. So yes, I would stress that where this really comes in handy for me as the final administrator is on those portfolios that are scored high, so that I can really kind of get in and see what's a differentiator. And then the other thing is the reason that I would ideally, this system would be set up to be able to give this feedback directly to students, but the problem is I don't have sort of universal comment. I have so many different judges and some judges write comments, some judges don't, that it makes it much more difficult to share that back with students because they don't really have any context for the scores if there aren't comments. So what I would say is, especially if you're dealing with a project that you think is very good, to please, if you can write just a couple of comments in that section, that would be great.
And then I realized I skipped over one thing. Sometimes there is blank content. So this element A, we clicked on that, we loaded this page, and we can see student content, and so we can evaluate that. If you have a page that's blank, go ahead and assign it 0. So sometimes it happens. Like I said, you could be evaluating the top tier of student work, and you could be evaluating the bottom tier of student work. So sometimes they could just leave it blank maybe later and That's just, it is what it is, but just assign a 0 if you see it blank. The only exception to that are the M and N. These two elements. Students cannot load content into these. These are purely for scoring holistic scores about the portfolio. So the presentation of the project portfolio, this talks about kind of the portfolio as a whole, the presentation style, and is it a well put together presentation. N is specifically about writing like an engineer. Is there technical writing up to snuff? Are they using standard STEM commonplace uses of technical writing? So and this is also a holistic one. So there's no specific content to actually evaluate, and so don't give these zeros just because there's no content. Look at the holistically look at it, and then assign it a score for M and N. But anything else, if it's blank, just assign a 0.
Elliot, we had a question.
Yep, got a question from. A question about even if we find information covered in another section. Yes. So sometimes if you click on A, there could be information in A that you might think addresses a rubric component in D, but you can't judge D based on A, content in A. You only have to, if you click on D, you have to judge D just based on content in D. And that's just to stay consistent. It's also, students should be doing that anyway, that we give them that. When I talk with students, I talk to them about a checklist of stuff they have to do here. And so if they miss a component and put it somewhere else, that's something we want to penalize that, because they have the checklist there. It's supposed to be in this structure, and they're pretty well aware of that. And especially in their classes, they utilize this rubric and this element structure from day one of their class, and so they should be really well versed in it and know how to categorize things. And that's kind of part of what they're being evaluated for, is following a process. That's really most of what they're evaluated for in a senior capstone project, is following a process.
Yeah, so I'll make a comment. I think this, we're hoping that this gets better every year. The Innovation Portal came on board 3 years ago. We were one of the very first regions to actually do a competition. And in that first year, the teachers and the students were all kind of grappling with this as a new thing. Each year, the teachers are a little bit more versed with the rubric. The students do get it at the very beginning of the year. So as Elliot said, they should be following that rubric all along. So, but it doesn't always mean it happens, but they do have that information up front. So.
Yeah, and it's part of their class to do so. That's a big focus of the class they're taking. Another question: do you have any examples from last year of very good and not as good work that we could give you for context for scoring? So Anne may be able to provide that, or maybe not. I'm not sure, but what I would point you towards are those scored element examples. Almost every single element here, all 14 elements, if you click this, you open up the rubric and you have a scored example right here in PDF form of actual student work. So this is the work that on a panel of people that spend a lot more time than me actually building this rubric. This rubric is a little bit bigger than the rubric is bigger than just the Innovation Portal with engineering design, student engineering design work, and evaluating it. So this is a panel of well-versed experts in how to utilize the rubric, and they've come to consensus about why this specific student work deserves a score of 5, and with the commentary of it. So I would use this as your baseline setting of information. And then what that allows us to do then is also compare your score. So because you're looking at a common baseline that's published online, we can compare and validate a student portfolio done in Kansas City and compare that with the score with another portfolio done in another city. Or really what's important is like classroom to classroom, being able to compare student work based on a common baseline that this rubric is and the scored examples represent. All right, so we did the score sheet. So we assigned one of them with element A. We submitted a score. We clicked the the blue pen button down there, we got a 3. Our work was saved, so it's working pretty good. Let's go into B. So we let's say B, the work wasn't so great, so we're going to score a 2 on that one and maybe give it a comment. And put that one in there, and then let's go into C as well. And C was really awesome, great student work, and they deserve a 5 here. So, all right. So once we go through all those, you can edit everything at this point. So you can go into B, and if you change your mind, maybe the work was a little bit better, and you can click a 3, but maybe not a 2. So all that is editable, and you can go back. Once you click complete review, this is like the if you think online shopping, like the Amazon shopping cart, the checkout cart. You can click all the stuff that you want to buy and you can put it in your cart, but then at some point you click the button to actually purchase and it sends it to you. This is kind of like that shopping cart for the Amazon shopping cart. Or if you could think of it another way is if we go back to the science fair analogy, you could have that score sheet on a clipboard. This is like the entire clipboard for one project. And then you're kind of ready to turn it in. So we can review our work on that clipboard or that shopping cart. So we can see the comment on element A, we can see the score of 3, we can see a score 2, score 5, take a look at those. If we haven't loaded a score in, it has a question mark. That's equivalent to a 0. So you can turn it in if it's blank, but it'll pretty much see as a 0 for the score computation on the back end. So scroll down, let's just pretend we have all those filled out. Or actually, let's say we want to make an edit. We saw that D is blank, and we want to go back. So we can go back. I can either hit the back button on my browser, which I'll do right here, and then come back to here. Let's go into D and put a score in. Maybe they got a 4 is pretty good. Put a comment in here, and then go back to that shopping cart. So all the changes are still there, all the scores are still there, and our changes here as well. If we scroll down, this is like the checkout lane. Clicking this button is kind of like taking that score sheet, putting it in an envelope, and licking it, shutting it, putting a stamp on it. And then this is like putting it in the mail. Once you click this button, you can't take it back, and you can't edit anything further. So this is like the point of no return. We don't allow judges to edit their scores after they complete the review, because at some point we need every judge to lock in their scores so that Anne knows what this is the final score and can compute those top scoring portfolios. And so this is that point where you have to make that commitment, and you can't go back after you click that button. So let's go ahead and do that. We've reviewed it. We're pretty confident in our scores now, and we like those ones. And let's go ahead and click complete review. We're dropped into this screen. If you look at the left-hand navigation bar, you can see that we're in My Reviews. This is another way that you can navigate to the reviews that you are assigned. So right now on this account, I have 5 different reviews assigned within the one competition, that training competition. So we can see that one of them is complete with the green tag, and then 4 more are active or still pending. You can use this to go review to review to evaluate student work. I wouldn't recommend that as a primary one though, just because if you are judging multiple years, if this is your second or third year judging on the Innovation Portal, you might see other stuff from prior years that you still have access to, and it just to make it cleaner, like you're going to the competitions. But you could do this if you wanted to, and you can review work from prior years as well if you want. If you want to look at, if you judged last year and you want to look at those reviews, you could do that at this point. But let's go ahead and click into this lawnmower Kickstarter one that we evaluated. We can see all of the student work. So there's that cover page, and then here's that element A that we evaluated. However, we don't have that blue pin button in the icon, that icon in the bottom right anymore, because we can't make any changes to our score. We can review the student work, and we can even see what score we assign to it if we click that review summary button. So we can see element A, we can see our comment, and we can see the score, but we can't change anything at this point. So you can review it, but you can't change it. So if we're ready to go do another one, submit another evaluation, we can go back to that opportunities. Remember, we'll have to click that past button here to find the 2017 competition. Right now the 2016 is here, but the 2017 will move into those positions. For this example, we'll move into the training example. Click reviews, and then we can see that 1 out of 5 is complete. So we have 5 total. One of them is done, which is this lawnmower Kickstarter. We can see that it's complete right here, and we could dive into the next one, maybe this cracked iPhone screen example projects, and start evaluating it all over again. But that's pretty much the process. So that one last reminder that I have for you, and then I'll wrap it up and give it back to Ann, is that by April 15th, you'll have to click that submit button on that Amazon shopping cart page, or drop the score sheet in the mailbox on April 15th, so all those scores are submitted. And I know it's if you can hit that deadline, thank you very much for doing it. But if you can't, even it's useful to know that you won't be able to complete all of them, just so that we can put a contingency plan in place for evaluating that student work. We're on a pretty quick turnaround time from April 15th to actually having to determine a winner, so it's useful to know that in advance. But thank you very much for listening to me. I'm going to give it back to Ann, and thank you for taking the time out of your day for this training and the 3 to 5 hours you're going to give us to evaluate student work. It's really great to give students this opportunity for recognition, and we definitely couldn't do this competition without you volunteering.
Awesome. Thank you, Elliot. Are there any, I think people have been sending in some questions on the chat box, but I do want to just give folks a chance. Are there any questions at all that you want to ask while we've got Elliot online?
So if you right-click on it, and then you click on in the PowerPoint bar where it says Design, it has all of these stock backgrounds.
Wait, right-click on what?
Just on the slide, anywhere on the.
Oh, I think maybe that's a question. I think somebody's not on mute there. So, well, so a couple of things that I want to just let you know that. So, as Elliot mentioned, we've been recording the training today, so I will be sending a follow-up email to all of you.
Oh, background, you mean?
Oh, is there someone there? Can everybody, let's see if we can, okay. So I'll be sending out an email that has a couple of references for you. One will be the YouTube link from our training session today, so you should be able to go through and pull out any information from that. The other is a step-by-step guide for judges. It's on the screen here. It's a PDF that shows you how to go ahead and access your portfolio or set up your account, access the portfolios, all of the information that we kind of set today, but it's in a PDF format. You're also going to get the reflective questions from the portal. So this is the document that the students received at the beginning of the year for them to think through and answer the questions. So for each different tab, for each section, you'll have the questions that the students have received. And then the last piece is the complete rubric. So this is all of the copy that is embedded in the innovation portal, but for some people, I know my husband is a judge, he likes to print this out and have it on a piece of paper next to the computer because it's easier for him to look at while he's going through the portfolios. So it's whatever your preference, but we will send all 3 of those items to you as a reference. And then when you are, again, you will receive an email actually on the 1st that tells you when the portfolios have been assigned. My hope is to get everything sort of situated on the 31st. The students have through midnight on the 30th, and then I need to kind of make sure all of the assignments are squared away before I kind of give the go-ahead for those to show up in your boxes, but you should have them on the morning of the 1st. And I've tried to work with the schedule so that you have at least 5 weekend days to look at the projects. So you do have all the way through midnight on the 15th to complete your reviews. And I know sometimes life just gets in the way, and that's when the reviews happen. But as Elliot mentioned, if for some reason you think you won't be able to get your reviews finished, please just let me know so we can figure out a different plan for those projects. And I think that's it. Again, we're so excited to have you guys on board as judges. Please feel free to contact me at any time with a question. As Elliot mentioned, he'll probably have this link ready to go quickly, but for the next 2 days, all the KC STEM Alliance staff will be immersed in a big FIRST Robotics competition. So my plan is to get all of this out on Monday the 20th. So, and then if,
I'm sorry, we had another question come in.
Oh.
So how many entries per judge will be assigned? Right now we're looking at 3 to 4. Typically we say when putting this up is 3 to 5, but it looks like this competition you'll either have 3 assigned to you or 4 assigned to you. Each of them will take probably about an hour. The first one maybe a little bit longer than that, and then by the third one you'll know the rubric a little bit better and it should go a little bit quicker.
Absolutely. I do think it's a little bit easier the more you go through. The first one is takes a little bit of time, but I think hopefully you'll find it pretty interesting, and the kids have some pretty fun projects, so I hope you enjoy it. So engineering judges, you're welcome to sign off, and if you are a biomed judge, if you could stay on for just a couple minutes, I want to talk about your rubric specifically. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, so I think I'm going to go ahead and just start talking because these folks will be clicking off as we speak. So I think Mark Whistle is on the call, who is one of our biomed judges from last year. So Mark, you're more than welcome to comment on this. But as you may have noticed, this design rubric was actually originally created for the engineering design process. And we are, well, the Project Lead the Way and Elliot and his team are actually working on creating a separate rubric that is more oriented to experimental design, but and that is in process. They've also recently changed some of the capacity of the innovation portal so that it can accommodate different rubrics. At this point, that's kind of also in process, so the timing with our competition didn't allow us to use a different rubric with our competition. So what we have done to try to make the evaluation a little bit easier is as we looked at the engineering rubric with some of our master teacher biomed teachers, what they told us is that it follows pretty closely the experimental design process. It's just that sometimes the language gets in the way. So we have gone through with a couple of our teachers and made some minor modifications to the rubric that just basically incorporate some of that experimental design language. And so when I send you the email with the attachments, you will actually receive a modified rubric for the biomed student or for the biomed projects. So this is what the students have also received at the beginning of the year, and we're hoping that it makes it a little bit easier for them to understand what is being asked in each of the sections, and the same for the judges. Now so I'll be very interested and to get your feedback, and then know that we are looking at and actually creating a separate rubric that might be more specific to experimental design. But hopefully it will be clear enough as you're going through the process. And Mark, are you still on the line?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, great. I don't know if you have any reflections as a returning judge that you'd like to share.
Yeah, I'm excited to do it again. I mean, it was really neat to see these students give their hearts into a pretty extensive project. A lot of bars to get over for the rubric, and looking forward to what ways you maybe made it a little more, directed to biomedical by some of the changes you're implementing, because that will help make the judging even easier.
Great, great. Well, so that's really the only difference on the biomed side. And at this point, it looks like of all of the kids, I'm guessing we're going to have around 40 biomed entries. There are a lot of the schools this year where some of the kids decided to do a job shadow or a different type of project, so it doesn't look like I have quite as many experimental design. But there are a couple of innovative projects in there, so I'm hoping to see some of those. So,
yeah.
Okay. Are there any questions or on the biomed side, or and as you receive that email next week, if you do have any that come up once you've looked through that, let me know. But so what you'll have is a written version that you can kind of print out and have next to you, but the engineering one will still be the one that you see in the rubric if you pull it up online. So I'm sorry we couldn't quite get the timing to be able to embed that in the actual online platform, but hopefully that's at least something that you can reference as you're doing your judging.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay, very good. Well, are there any other questions? Okay, well, wonderful. Well, thank you to everybody. And
looks like we have one from Aline. If we are a biomed judge, will we be only judging biomed projects, or will you also have us help with engineering projects?
Well, right now, I would just be giving you biomed projects. But if you are interested in doing both, I could put you on my backup list for engineering if I happen to need an engineering judge. So, yes, actually, Eileen, send me a quick email if that's something you're interested in doing. So I think you're in bioengineering, so you wear both hats.
And she said just biomed is fine. Another question, will the engineering rubric online work for the biomed rubric too?
Yes, absolutely. So what we did was we started with the engineering rubric, and we just adapted it we added some biomed language in there just to make it applicable to the biomed experimental design process.
And you won't see those changes in the online innovation portal. You'll have to reference the PDF document being sent out by Anne.
Right. And they are not major changes. It's really just, like I said, sort of shifting the language a little bit so that especially our students can see, more directly see what is being asked. Okay. Well, if there are no other questions, and if any other questions come up afterwards, please don't hesitate to shoot me an email or Elliot. And again, thank you so much for supporting us. And if any of you are able to join us on April 18th for the showcase, we would love to see you then. We always have a lot of judges that come and really enjoy being able to meet the students in person and see the projects in person. So you are invited, and you'll be receiving a more direct invitation to that in the coming weeks. So, all right. Well, great. Well, thank you, everybody, and have a great evening.
Thank you, Anne. You too.
All right. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.